DESIblitz.com.
I'm a posthumous child, someone who's born after the death of his father. My mother was expecting me. She was 7 months in her pregnancy when my father was assassinated for opposing the breakup of India in 1947. Because he was a man of vision, he was a visionary, he could foretell the consequences of religious disharmony. He pleaded with the then Muslim leaders not to cut and run. After independence, there'll be one person, one vote. Together we'll make our destiny. Besides, they were not only dividing India, but they were also dividing Muslims of India and rendering them weak forever. He gave a lot of justification, but a lot of people who could not understand his vision of a united India, free of rivalry, they assassinated him when he was trying to save some student of a DAV school in Multan who were caught up in communal riots because the student had taken out a procession against the partition and they got into trouble, and my father, being the local leader, he went to rescue them. And he was recognized as an opponent of the partition of Pakistan, and he was set upon, attacked and stabbed to death at the young age of 42. So things got very bad, more and more riots against minorities, Hindus and Sikhs. So one day my mother decided to leave her place, because we have moved to a place called Gujranwala where I was born. When I was 2 months old, things were getting very bad, and then she took a refugee train from Gujranwala to Firozpur. And because my father's reputation was so great that she couldn't get on the train. It was full of people, climbing, sitting on top of each other or sitting on the roof, clinging from the windows or wherever. But then, she went to the engine driver and pleaded with him that this is what I was, my husband, they all knew who he was. He was assassinated, I'm helpless, I got a 2 months old baby, I can't, we were 8 children, she had 8 children, 7, my sibling. And the engine driver took pity. He said, okay, if you don't mind, please sit on the coal tender. The coal tender they have. So 8 of us, I was 2 months, in my mom's lap. So our journey from Gujranwala to Firozpur was on the coals, and we all become black. We were all covered with soot. When we arrived in Firozpur, we were like completely people from outer space, and nobody could recognize us. And that's how our story started. And then, unfortunately, there was flooding in Firozpur. Evacuation became mandatory, that people have to leave the area. So then my mother, she had a sister in Patiala, and she said, look, you come here, Maharaja Patiala has opened camps, refugee camps, where the people can come and stay. So my mother then, with great deal of difficulty, with the help of trains and buses and tanga, she arrived in Patiala in a refugee camp. And from there, she was a very intelligent lady. Again, when people were collecting their expensive stuff to take it with them to India for Pakistan, my mother was collecting my father's certificate. You can see them, press cutting, newspaper cutting, or whatever, so that she could tell people who she was and what she had become. And then she went to see the Chief Minister of Punjab, Pepsu at that time, and presented all this paper, what I showed you, to him, that I'm the wife of this man who died for Hindu-Muslim unity, for India, and I need some help. And then he said, are you educated? And she said, yes, I am up to 8th standard, just a very basic education. And he said, okay, then you can teach in kindergarten, ABC, 1, 2, 3, 4, to children, 6, 7-year-old children. So my mother worked as a teacher, and it was a very hard work, 8 of us, and we also got a house allotted. There were a lot of Muslim families were leaving India as Sikhs and Hindu left Pakistan. So we got a house, so we stayed all together, we worked very hard. My mother said, although we were very poor teacher and we were just could barely eat food, and my mother would go out and get some castaway clothes from rich people and she'll alter them and give it to us. And we managed somehow. But one thing was sure, she said, even you starve, you will study. That's the only way you'll get out of poverty, if you study. If you don't study, you're finished. So all my brothers and sisters, they were very, very committed, sincere. They knew what has happened, a catastrophe. 1 minute you're living happily, and next minute your father is killed, and you become destitute. A lot of people told my mother, give the children to orphanage. How will you cope? And she said, no, I'm not going to give them away. I will struggle, we will starve, we will do anything. Anyway, so with great deal of difficulty, and luckily my older brother, who was 14, when he reached 16, he sat for an exam competition. They were very bright, very educated, because they were very hardworking. They had no money to do any other activity but to study. And so he got selected in the army as a cadet, lieutenant. Yes, so 4 years course, and after 4 years he became when he was 20, he was a lieutenant in the army, commissioned officer. So those 4 years were very difficult for us, but luckily now he got the commission in the army, so he could send us £100 a month from his saving. So he also did not go to bars or nightclubs or whatever like officers do, but the money he saved, he sent it back. My mother had so then again, and after a few years, my other brother got a job as a teacher, and then another brother got into the army, as because we got to know the system. The army was the best way to get out of poverty. With little qualification, you could sit for a competition, and then one after the other, my 5 brothers joined the army as commissioned officer. My mother got the proudest Indian mother title, because 5 sons were in the defense of India, and these guys fought in 3 wars. I was the youngest one, and unfortunately I was spoiled, because I got a lot of love from every direction. And my mother gave me too much love, because for her I was a toy, and I could keep her mind away from her husband. She couldn't, but she was playing with me. Anyway, in the process I was a mediocre student. I got everything, luxury, blah, blah, blah. And then I graduated by great deal of difficulty from Punjab University, Chandigarh. We moved to Chandigarh after that, when we became little affluent. And then I persuaded her that, look, send me to England, where my brother was already here. I will do bar at law, like my father, and if I study in England, I'll get more value when I come back. And somehow I persuaded, and I got to London, UK, and I had no idea how different my idea was. My perception was totally incorrect. My brother warned me, don't come, and I used to tell, you're jealous of me. You don't want me to come and enjoy. You're enjoying it. He said, no, it's very hard. But would I believe him? No. So it was a very when I came here, there was no money, I couldn't study, and I wanted to go back. Then I said, I had to sell my motorbike to buy my airline ticket. So now I need to make some money to buy things back which I gave away or sold.